problems that are common consequences of mother-son enmeshment. It is estimated that 1 in 10 men in this country have excessive ties to their mothers. This conservative estimate comes from established data on men sexually abused as children, male sex addicts, and adult children of alcoholics, where estimates of mother-enmeshed men can be made. For example, clinicians in national inpatient addiction treatment programs have estimated in informal surveys that up to 40% of male sex addicts have enmeshment issues with their mothers. Further, this enmeshment is seen as a significant factor in their sexually addictive behavior. A clear profile has emerged for mother-enmeshed men. I explain the profile in part 1 of this book and present case histories of 7 different mother-enmeshed men in the first 7 chapters. Each of these mother-enmeshed men manifests a different aspect of the mother-enmeshed man profile. Although these men and their partners and their stories are different, each is rooted in the dynamic of mother-son enmeshment. I would like the hopeful outcomes of these stories to encourage you by showing that your relationship is not as uniquely frustrating as it seems, and that other couples have overcome similar problems. Chapter 8 summarizes the key points of Part 1. In Part 2, we turn to you, the listener, and offer 2 chapters focusing on self-understanding, beginning with a questionnaire. Are you a mother-enmeshed man? If you can't wait to evaluate yourself, you will find it at the beginning of Chapter 9. Chapter 9 goes on to consider the astonishing influence that the unconscious mind has on our daily lives. Although the unconscious helps us decide whom we date, whom we make love to, and whom we marry, it often operates outside our awareness and our will. Self-understanding requires learning to observe unconscious influences and to heal unconscious wounds. The unconscious is not always an unhealthy influence. When a childhood has been emotionally healthy, the unconscious operates as a functional silent partner. It doesn't intrude, and it can be helpful, for example, by giving access to creative energy and intuition. A foundation of healthy early experiences powers our joy, our willingness to bond with others, our ability to feel passion, and our healthy sexuality. But a childhood marred by emotional damage establishes an unconscious mind that is intrusive. It holds the remnants of a child's unresolved conflicts, fears, and angers. It responds to these old injuries by acting them out, often to the harm of the adult the child becomes. Fortunately, the unconscious can be negotiated with and encouraged to express its story with less damage and a more positive outcome. Therapists are the guides in these negotiations, and the therapeutic journey is the only route that leads to this accommodation. For a mother-enmeshed man to get better, he must understand how enmeshment is limiting his life, how his unconscious mind influences his life, and how psychotherapy can change his life. Chapter 10 discusses therapy. Who needs it? How to choose a therapist? What should happen in therapy? I have had much success with mother-enmeshed men in therapy, a fact that I hope carries a message of hope for healing to everyone hearing this book. Part 3 is about relationships, how things can be made better for mother-enmeshed men and the people who love them. Since many of my mother-enmeshed men clients first came to see me at the urging of their wives, fiancés, or girlfriends, I include in Part 3 specific advice for women involved with mother-enmeshed men. Chapter 11 focuses on how to make relationships with parents and siblings into positive sources of support, or, if that's impossible, to limit the damage. There is advice in Chapter 12 on romance and commitment for mother-enmeshed men, and in Chapter 13 for women involved with mother-enmeshed men. Chapter 14 has guidelines for parents who want to avoid enmeshing their own children. The good news for mother-enmeshed men, and the women who love them, is that help is possible. A mother-enmeshed man can be treated using a variety of techniques, including support groups and psychotherapy. With treatment, he can be freed from the painful inner conflicts that drive his ambivalent behavior. I've helped many mother-enmeshed men for whom commitment eventually became a liberating adventure rather than a burden. For the women involved with mother-enmeshed men, this book is a guide to what is going on with their men and how best to help them. There is a universe of difference between a mother who loves her